It was a humid evening in Miami, the kind where the air hangs thick with anticipation and the promise of a vibrant night. Tonight's promise, however, was for peace and goodwill as a high-profile youth charity gala unfolded at a luxurious waterfront venue. The place sparkled with 1,000 lights, reflecting off the gentle ripples of the bay, and buzzed with the joyous laughter of children. They mingled with their heroes, football legends Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, their eyes wide with disbelief and adoration. The event, a beacon of hope for disadvantaged neighborhoods, was meant to be a celebration of community, but it would soon turn into a battleground. The gala had just reached its emotional crescendo. Lionel Messi, with his characteristic humility, stood on the stage, his voice soft but resonant as he spoke about the transformative power of unity and the importance of investing in the next generation. Cristiano Ronaldo, ever the charismatic presence, stood nearby, a rare, genuine smile gracing his lips as he applauded his longtime rival, acknowledging the sincerity in Messi's words. Cameras flashed, capturing the iconic moment, and the crowd listened, captivated by the unexpected harmony between the two titans of the sport. A sense of collective warmth filled the grand ballroom, a feeling that, for a fleeting moment, transcended rivalries and embraced a shared humanity. But suddenly, the idyllic scene shattered. The piercing sound of shattering glass ripped through the air, sharp and violent, instantly silencing the applause and replacing it with a collective gasp. 3 masked figures, clad in dark tactical gear, stormed into the ballroom. They moved with an unsettling coordination, each armed with a menacing presence that belied their civilian attire. Panic erupted, a wave of primal fear washing over the elegant gathering. Guests screamed, some instinctively diving under tables, others frozen in terror. Security personnel, caught off guard by the sheer speed and ferocity of the intrusion, scrambled to react, but the attackers were unnervingly fast, their movements precise and strategic. "We want the legends," one of them bellowed, his voice distorted and amplified, cutting through the rising tide of screams. Messi, his instincts kicking in, immediately sprang into action. Without a thought for his own safety, he positioned himself between the terrified children and the advancing attackers, his body a human shield. He gently but firmly urged them towards the nearest exit, his eyes scanning for the safest path. Ronaldo, ever the strategist, instantly assessed the chaos, his gaze darting around the room, identifying potential cover and calculating escape routes. But there was no time for elaborate plans. The attackers were already closing in, their focus fixed on the stage, a predatory glint in their eyes visible even through their masks. This was no random act of violence, no opportunistic robbery. This was a targeted attack, carefully planned and executed with chilling precision. The realization dawned on both Messi and Ronaldo simultaneously. They exchanged a quick, intense glance. Years of fierce competition on the pitch, of pushing each other to unimaginable heights, had forged an unspoken understanding between them. In that split second, they read each other perfectly, a lifetime of rivalry culminating in a silent agreement. No words were needed. They moved as a single, formidable unit. As the first attacker lunged towards the stage, a glint of metal in his hand, Ronaldo acted. With a burst of his legendary speed, he snatched a heavy, ornate metal tray from a nearby buffet table. With pinpoint accuracy, a skill honed by countless hours of striking goals, he hurled it. The tray spun through the air, connecting with a sickening thud against the attacker's head, knocking him off his feet with a groan. Simultaneously, Messi, displaying an agility unexpected off the pitch, dove off the stage, tackling a second assailant at the knees. He wrestled with the man, his grip surprisingly strong, and with a swift, powerful wrench disarmed him, sending the weapon skittering across the polished floor. The third attacker, momentarily distracted, reached for a terrified guest, intending to take a hostage. But before his fingers could even brush the victim's arm, Ronaldo was there. He launched himself into a flying tackle, a blur of motion, intercepting the assailant with a force that sent both men crashing spectacularly into a towering display of champagne flutes. Glass shattered, liquid sprayed, but the hostage was safe. Finally, the overwhelmed security detail, bolstered by the unexpected and decisive intervention of the two football icons, regained control. They swarmed the dazed and disoriented attackers, apprehending them one by one. The guests, shaken but remarkably unharmed, began to slowly emerge from their hiding places. The immediate danger had passed, the chaos subsiding into a tense silence, broken only by the sirens wailing in the distance. But as the police began to lead the masked men away, their hands cuffed behind their backs, one of them, his eyes glinting with a chilling defiance, turned his head slightly. He whispered something, just loud enough to catch Messi's ear amidst the rising din of law enforcement and medical personnel. "It's not over. They're coming for the match." Messi frowned, his brow furrowed in confusion. Ronaldo, standing nearby, overheard the cryptic message. "What match?" he demanded, stepping forward, but the man merely offered a chilling smirk before being led out of the ballroom, leaving the question hanging heavy in the humid Miami air. Within hours, news outlets around the globe exploded with the story. Headlines screamed, "Football legends foil gala attack. Messi and Ronaldo, heroes off the pitch. The unlikely alliance. Rivals save lives." The world celebrated their bravery. But for the two icons, the victory felt incomplete, overshadowed by the unsettling whisper. Who were these men? Who had orchestrated such a sophisticated and targeted attack? And what match were they referring to? The questions gnawed at them. The very next morning, a discreet, anonymous package arrived at Messi's luxurious hotel suite. Inside, nestled among layers of protective foam, was a single, elegant ticket. It was for a charity football match, purportedly scheduled in Barcelona in just 3 days, an event neither he nor Ronaldo had ever agreed to attend, let alone promote. A shiver ran down his spine. This was no coincidence. Moments later, a similar package was delivered to Ronaldo's suite, containing an identical ticket. The message was clear. They had been chosen, not just as targets, but as participants in a game they never signed up for. They met in private, in a secure, nondescript room, away from the prying eyes of the media and the curious whispers of their entourages. They reviewed the contents of the packages, their expressions grim. A handwritten note, elegant but unsettling, accompanied the tickets. Final score determines more than just the game. Messi ran a hand through his hair, his frustration evident. "This is a setup," he stated, his voice low and tight. Ronaldo nodded slowly, his gaze distant. "And we're being lured into it." The implications were chilling. Innocent people, their fans, could be in danger again. The charity match, now inadvertently under intense media scrutiny due to the gala attack, couldn't be cancelled without raising massive suspicion and potentially inciting the very chaos the attackers sought. The legends exchanged another silent glance, a shared understanding passing between them. Despite the undeniable risks, they knew they had no choice. They would play, but they would be ready. Barcelona's majestic Camp Nou stadium, a cathedral of football, was packed to its immense capacity. The air crackled with a palpable energy. The world tuned in, expecting to witness history unfold on the pitch. The two greatest players of their generation united for a noble cause. What they didn't know, what no one truly saw coming, was that this particular chapter of history might involve far more than just football. Security measures were quadrupled, a visible presence of stern-faced guards patrolling every inch of the stadium. Surveillance teams, both overt and covert, were deployed, their eyes calm, their passes precise, their movements fluid. It went smoothly, almost too smoothly. An unnatural quiet settled over the stadium, a premonition of sorts. As the second half began, Messi, ever observant, noticed a subtle anomaly in the stands. A figure, dressed innocuously in a fan jersey, was discreetly passing a small, suspicious device to another person, their exchange quick and furtive. At the same exact moment, across the stadium, Ronaldo spotted a man in the exclusive VIP section. The man, impeccably dressed, was speaking into a concealed earpiece, his eyes darting around with an unnerving intensity, his attention clearly not on the match. The realization hit them like a bolt of lightning. The threat wasn't over. It was evolving, shifting, adapting to their vigilance. Then, without warning, a blackout struck the stadium. The roar of the crowd morphed into a collective gasp as total darkness enveloped the immense arena. Panic, raw and visceral, began to spread like wildfire through the stands. Children cried. Adults shouted, a suffocating claustrophobia descending upon the masses. But then, suddenly, spotlights flickered on, cutting through the inky blackness, illuminating the center of the pitch. A pre-recorded voice, distorted and chillingly calm, echoed through the arena's powerful sound system, amplified to a terrifying degree. You stopped us once, but the game isn't over. Tonight, you play not for goals, but for lives. Screams, louder and more desperate than before, echoed through the stadium. On the massive jumbotron screen, now eerily lit by the spotlights, a digital countdown appeared. 30 minutes. Security personnel, their faces grim, rushed to initiate evacuation protocols. But a new wave of horror washed over the crowd as they discovered the exits had been locked remotely, sealed shut by an unseen hand. The trap was sprung. Without a moment's hesitation, their instincts overriding any fear, Messi and Ronaldo sprinted off the pitch, their eyes fixed on the stadium's control room. They knew this wasn't a problem that could be solved with brute force. This was a battle of wits. Inside the control room, amidst flashing lights and banks of silent monitors, they found a complex makeshift hacking setup. Someone, a ghost in the machine, was controlling the stadium's entire infrastructure remotely. The lights, the ventilation, the alarms, the locks, even the very sound system that broadcasted the ominous message. Messi, ever the communicator, grabbed the nearest internal comms microphone. "We need every backup generator online now," he barked, his voice laced with urgency. "And get bolt cutters on those exit gates, now." Ronaldo, his mind working at lightning speed, scanned the intricate network of systems displayed on the monitors. His eyes locked onto a blinking signal, an anomalous data stream. "That's their access point," he declared, pointing a decisive finger at the screen. "If we cut the feed, we regain control." Together, their movements synchronized despite their differing skill sets. They traced the signal's origin. It led them to a service tunnel, a dark, claustrophobic passage snaking beneath the stadium's colossal structure. Armed with nothing more than their determination and a couple of emergency flashlights they'd grabbed on the way, they plunged into the maze-like passages, the faint sounds of distant panic fading behind them. Deep inside the dank, echoing tunnel, their flashlights cut through the gloom, revealing two figures blocking their path. It was two of the masked attackers from the gala, their eyes burning with renewed malice. They had been freed by insiders, strategically placed to intercept the legends, ready for round two. A brutal, desperate fight broke out in the oppressive darkness, illuminated only by the intermittent sparks from damaged wires and the fleeting beams of their flashlights. Messi, demonstrating an unexpected resourcefulness, grabbed a discarded fire extinguisher, using its heavy cylinder as a makeshift shield against a swinging pipe. Ronaldo, his movements a blur of controlled aggression, countered with a broken pipe he'd wrenched from the wall, wielding it like a baton. Their movements, once reserved for the ballet of goals and the glory of the pitch, now transformed into a primal language of survival, each block and strike a desperate plea for time. Finally, battered but unbowed, they reached the source of the malicious signal. A sophisticated portable server rig, humming ominously, its cables snaking into the stadium's main systems. Without a word, Messi, with a surge of adrenaline, ripped the thick power cable from the back of the rig, severing its connection. At the same instant, Ronaldo, with a single powerful kick, smashed the console, reducing it to a shower of sparks and shattered plastic. Instantly, the stadium roared back to life. Lights flooded the arena, banishing the darkness. The ominous countdown vanished from the Jumbotron. The emergency exit doors, with a satisfying click, unlocked and swung open. Emergency crews, having finally forced their way through the secured gates, flooded the stadium, guiding the shaken but relieved fans to safety. The nightmare, against all odds, had ended. Authorities later launched a massive investigation, eventually discovering that the plot was orchestrated by a shadowy, rogue organization. Their chilling aim was to use global sporting events, with their massive audiences and inherent symbolism, as platforms to sow widespread chaos and undermine public trust in established systems. Messi and Ronaldo, unknowingly targeted due to their immense global reach and influence, had become central, unwitting figures in a far grander, more sinister conspiracy. But they didn't seek glory or further accolades. After giving their statements to the shell-shocked investigators, they returned quietly to their hotel, the weight of what they had faced settling upon them. Later that night, a persistent reporter, somehow having tracked them down, managed to corner Ronaldo. "Mr. Ronaldo," she asked, her voice tinged with awe, "do you think your intense football rivalry with Mr. Messi prepared you for a moment like this, for fighting side by side?" Ronaldo offered a rare, genuine smile, a flicker of the competitor still in his eyes but tempered by the gravity of their recent ordeal. "Maybe," he conceded, "but saving lives isn't a competition." Messi, standing quietly beside him, his gaze distant but resolute, added, "Sometimes the game off the pitch is the one that matters most." The world had always seen them as athletes, titans of the beautiful game locked in an eternal, thrilling rivalry. Now they were something more, something far beyond the realm of sports. Heroes.